You'd never think that it was the 2nd of November today. Them trees behind, still in full green leaf. Barely a leaf changing colour on the oaks. As I say, it's the 2nd of November. The sun is warm and I'm at Eakring. Surely red admirals can't fly through today, can they? We'll find out. What an absolutely super morning. Well, technically we're just a few minutes into the afternoon, and it's the most glorious day. There's a light breeze. I have seen a red admiral this morning, actually, earlier on, about half an hour ago at home, just flying by. So, ever the optimist, which is most unlike me. I would be happy just to get one or two passing through. But that's a clouting view, isn't it? Well, there's a few things flying, and that's a Phoebus dung beetles. But there's quite a lot of them flying, which is quite typical. And the ones that are flying are all heading towards me. We've got a sort of southwesterly, almost westerly breeze, but it's not a cold breeze. But looking around now, there are large numbers of Aphodius, and typically it'll be Aphodius prodromus. That's the common species we get here in Nottinghamshire, at least, and you can catch them. A bit difficult, but to say this is November, just have a listen. There's a couple of skylarks in full song. It sounds spring-like. What an absolutely gorgeous day. I started coming to Eakring bird watching in 1997, in November 1997. And I bird watched here for approximately 17 years, if I remember right. There's been a few changes in that time, and you're looking at some of them there, the turbines. Not technically in the recording area that I had at the time. They're mostly located, well, 3 are on the old Bilsort pit top, and a couple are on Stonish Hill, just outside of Eakring. And I remember when the planning application first went in for them, and eventually it was turned down on account that they were too high, and it was the RAF that objected. So the planners reduced the height of the turbines by about 20 metres or so. I think it was 20, it might have been a little bit more, I'm not sure. And planning consent was then given. At the time of the original planning application going in, I was invited to go along to a parish meeting in the village hall, and Now, I was going to give my 2 pence worth, if required, from an ornithological viewpoint, but after a couple of minutes it was quite evident that the only thing people of the village at the time were bothered about was money, and how the value of their houses would be affected by those turbines. I lost interest after that. I stayed to the end of the meeting, but that's the basis for all the arguments against the turbines. There was a little bit of concern about the accompanying hum, but you can't hear it from Eakring, from the village itself. Another thing that's changed in the Eakring area, but it's the same throughout the county, is land use. At one time, most of these fields, the vast majority of these fields, were given over to the production of oilseed rape. I think at the moment, oilseed rape, the price of it per tonne, has dropped astronomically, which is why now all of a sudden you might not have noticed that it's quite unusual, especially last year. It was quite unusual to see the bright yellow fields of oilseed rape, and the profitable crop at the moment is grain, and that's what the majority of these fields are given over to. But one good thing that has increased now is the amount of fields that are left as stubble over winter. There's several fields here, one at the side of me now on my left, and then there's one over the hill. Oh, we've got a red kite. The red kite is just above the 2 bits of fluffy cloud on the left of the picture. It might drift over here. But yeah, there's more stubble fields now, which is good. Anyway, I'm going to keep an eye on this red kite as it's coming over here. It's the first one I've seen here for a couple of weeks. At one time they were an absolute mega, but I think now you could get one every week. That's another aspect that's changed. Red kites. I remember almost screaming the Kingsmill Res down when my first one for Nottinghamshire appeared in April. I think it was 95, 96, I'm not sure. Appeared over Kingsmill Hospital. And within a few years, sightings became almost annual. Now they can be almost daily in Nottinghamshire. Such is the increase. And the one that I've been watching is now gaining height. It's a good wrap today, a bit of breeze and this cloud. There's also a buzzard high up above me. But not surprisingly, there's no red admirals moving through. There's no birds either. So the plan of attack now might be to go and have a bit of a wander around Linewood, which is just off centre there on the hillside, because by the looks of that there's a fair bit of autumn colour on the beech trees in Linewood. So I might go and have a bit of a plod in there. I love days like this, and the sunlight plays across the ground, always ever changing when you've got cumulus cloud like this. Well, this is the edge of Linewood, bit of private woodland here just outside Eakring, and it's quite interesting how the trees on this western side of Linewood are in various states of defoliation. We've got a couple of ash, there's a cherry, and numerous oaks, and then making up the understory it's mostly blackthorn with a little bit of hazel on this edge. Now the cherry tree is the one with about 5 leaves still on it, and that's completely defoliated almost. And I'm surprised actually that these ash have still got leaves on, because that's usually a bit limp in autumn. Very quick to give up the ghost and shut down for winter. And the oaks are still green, but there again I suppose the oak leaf is a lot tougher. It varies greatly from tree to tree. And just a little bit further down here is my favourite view, but the sun's at the wrong angle for that, overlooking Eakring. And in case you actually watched it and wondered where it was, this was the site just inside the entrance at Linewood where I last moth trapped at Linewood a few weeks ago. And where I'm stood now was where the car was. The sheet was just at the bottom of the screen there. Always a good place to trap, because moths would come out of the wood there, out of Linewood, up that sort of bit of a track on the right hand side, and be drawn into the light. In fact, I had a rabbit run up there once, just when I got a little sort of portable actinic lantern that sort of sat on the sheet, and I was sat against the sheet, and all of a sudden I saw something come hurtling out of the wood, and it was a rabbit, and it ran stonking straight into the bloody light. It ran off, it was alright. I'd had time to get any carrots ready and some taters for a good stew before it had gone. And that's a true story. Well, the bit about the rabbit is the carrots in the stew bit I've just added on. I was a bit slow that day. And here's more or less the centre of Linewood. Anyone who's into forestry or nature reserve management will be shouting, "Pass me a chainsaw, pass me a chainsaw." This place hasn't seen a chainsaw for years. The man who owned it, unfortunately, he died with cancer a number of years ago, and he used to spend the weekend here with his family. And he used to cut a few trees down, but he used to cut them down to a height of about 6 foot. And this wood would completely go against everything that everyone's taught about woodland management. But it has a fantastic species list, because this isn't a big wood by any means. I'll take you into the little clearing in the centre, and here we are in the centre. And as I was just saying, this place has an excellent species list. If I remember, I'll try and total it up for Linewood, but you're looking probably just in excess of 600 species, which for a site like this, I mean, it's not a big site at all. And the tree varieties isn't overly great. There's a lot of pine in here, and oak, and ash. I mean, ash has very little that will feed on it. And the understory is largely, well, once you get into this part of the wood, it's mainly hazel. But it's never been coppiced. Part of it was clearfelled many years ago, and it all grown up back nicely. But if this wood was ever taken over and given over to a wildlife trust, shall we say, or the conservation organisation, the first thing that they would do would be to take a third of the trees out, at least a third, and they would open it up. One of the reasons this place has got such a good species list for the size of the wood it is because it hasn't been managed. There are plenty of trees, and plenty of trees means plenty of invertebrates. It's quite simple. You don't need to go to university to work that out. Just put some hours in the field. We've had some fantastic counts of moths to the light here over the years, and it's simply because it's not managed. And it's not overly dark. This does have a decent understory and ground fauna and flora. Some good beetles here. And this is a stonking bluebell wood in spring. It's an absolute joy. In order to encourage wildlife, you don't have to manage it to hell. I love this particular shot. This is just walking towards the western edge of Linewood, and it always looks nice when the leaves on the trees and the shrubs are backlit by glorious sunshine. I've not took it so much for the view, more the effect of the sunlight and the clouds. It's a photographer's dream a day like this. I mean, I see that sun just glimpses through, we might get some nice rays. Now, funny enough, I've got a little spider that's about to start ballooning on the camera. A little tiny money spider. You'd never think this was the 2nd of November. Ooh, bright light. We have a wonderful planet, you know. Get out and experience it would be my message. Well, that was Linewood, and that's Eakring Flash, and Eakring Village behind that. Linewood is one of the best woods I know. It's what I would call proper woodland. That's the woodland that people expect. Not this manicured, almost treeless woodland that they're churning out today. And the thing that worries me is that you're going to have successive generations of ecologists that are being taught one way to manage woodland. If you're going to manage woodland or any site, manage it on its own merits. Manage it for what's there, not always what you'd like to be there. Look at sites individually. You don't have to manage sites in the way that you've been taught. That the people that teach you don't always know everything. So find out for yourself. And leave some woodland be.